Catherine is puzzles, girls, and yeah, at least according to Google. Even then, Catherine describes itself as an unconventional romantic horror, a label I somewhat agree with, but in reality, Catherine goes much deeper, dipping its toes into ideas around adulthood and direction. The idea of just not being able to figure it all out, whether it's a relationship, job, or just a normal day-to-day decision, it's a struggle most face all the time. Making choices is terrifying, leading most to stick to tradition, going with the flow. But is that truly the direction you must go in? Catherine explores these ideas under the guise of a scary and silly romantic puzzle game. One that's actually made by the same team that did Persona 3, 4, and 5. While therefore made by Atlus, a company that loves long-winded series with numerous spin-offs, Shin Megami Tensei, Catherine is a one-off game. While Catherine Full Body does exist, it's closer to a re-release / expansion of the original Catherine, with the subtext Full Body referencing that. The game is like a full-bodied wine, more depth. Point is, Full Body isn't really a sequel, it's just Catherine but more. And since Full Body's release, there's been no news about the Catherine IP, and it honestly looks like it'll stay that way. The reason I mention this is because of Metaphor Re Fantasio, another Atlus title that is made by the same exact team as Catherine. I'm excited for it. And so, with excitement, I wanted to take a look back at Catherine, a game that on the surface looks like a cheating sim, one where you betray your longtime girlfriend for the younger option, leading to all sorts of insane situations. And while, yeah, that's true, it's only the tip of the Catherine iceberg.
Sheep 1, 2, 3 get sucked in my sheets これは現実それか dream 混ざる蜜と濃厚なクリームつながる仕組みは辺と辺人との関係はエンドエン原点とゴー結ぶ点と点あとはセンスで決まる運命の運命 Left か right か前後左右 Move the brick Step up して解いてく trick Man you gotta fight for your chick でももいるからできないピック時間はないぜ兄弟踏み外せば兄弟そんなショータイム登れるとこまで登ろうかい後戻りはできないこの後悔ビッグなハウスにビッグなカーがなくても案外引っかかる押したり引いたりして落とせる頂上目指してやつ射止めるライフは結局バブルじゃん弾けるまで要は夢見がちじゃん
We begin by walking into some sort of puzzle arena, a strange place that quickly forces you to climb to the top or die. Upon reaching the top, our character wakes up, implying this was some sort of strange dream. The weirdest part though is that this dream was scary enough for him to wet the bed, yet he doesn't remember one bit of it. We then fast forward to a scene that really introduces us to our main character as well as tells us a ton about his situation. His name is Vincent Brooks, and he's out with his longtime girlfriend, Catherine McBride, where they find themselves on the topic of marriage. Catherine is very interested in the idea and brings up the fact that they've been together for a very long time. But this startles Vincent. It's obvious he hasn't really thought about it, and he likes the easiness of things now. After all, in his own words, sometimes easy's best. And so this ends the conversation and yet again fast forwards us to the Stray Sheep bar, this game's hub world of sorts. Here Vincent chats with his friends about the marriage situation and how Catherine is bringing it up out of nowhere. They respond by telling him it's very obvious, she wants to tie the knot with him. Vincent is still mixed about this idea, and so the conversation drifts off to discussing a friend of theirs that has recently passed away in a strange way. You can actually see this on the news as you explore the Stray Sheep bar, as well as many other things like viewing text messages, with how you respond influencing... Oh, okay, that's important. That's what it influences. This is the karma meter, or well, your good boy meter. It's fairly easy to understand. The more chaotic choices you make will push it further into the red, and vice versa. Everything in Catherine does affect this meter, though it doesn't really change anything overall, at least not until the very end of the game, as when it comes to deciding which ending you're gonna get, this is the most important factor, so keep it in the back of your mind. But here in the bar, you can do a lot of things. You can get like silly drinking facts, there's an arcade machine that's a whole special different game mode, as well as interact with a ton of different NPCs. It's just a super cozy spot. Later into the night and right before leaving the bar, Vincent is approached by a strange lady asking to sit next to him. And before we can see anything about her, Vincent is seemingly asleep, back into the strange nightmare puzzle world. By now, it's obvious these strange puzzle stages are happening in a dream. Well, nightmare. It's technically still a dream, Jay. These puzzles are the main gameplay mechanic. Every night when Vincent goes to bed, he'll be transported to this place and be forced to compete for his life. Each night varies in the amount of stages, but it always goes like stage, landing area, over and over until you get to the final stage. As for what you do in the stages, you move various types of blocks to climb to the top of the tower. And while it seems simple enough, it does eventually get very confusing and difficult, forcing you to learn a plethora of techniques if you want to succeed every time. You are also under tons of pressure, though I don't really think I need to say that. Between the stage disappearing and the other sheep being out to get you, it's just best you hurry up, really.
May you rest in peace.
Now's not the time to be dead.
After each stage, you'll reach the landing, an area where you can meet and speak to your fellow participants. But the main focus of the landing is the conversations that happen in the confessional. Here you will be asked a question that will heavily affect your karma meter, causing the biggest changes to the bar before sending you up to the next stage. Or boss. The last stage will always feature a boss. A boss that is always very important and relevant to the events of the past day, with the first boss being Catherine.
I won't leave you safe. What the fuck is this? Catherine?
When Vincent escapes and wakes up in the morning, we're not even an hour in and he's cheated. Vincent finds himself in bed with the lady from the bar, instantly remembering their conversation from the night before. They spoke about marriage, Vincent taking a liking to how she doesn't seem to be concerned at all about the topic, unlike Catherine. And in the process of this conversation, they got very touchy. Oh yeah, I should probably mention this about now. She is also named Catherine. Vincent is really cheating on Catherine with another Catherine. There's two Catherines now though, with this one being Catherine with a C, and Vincent's girlfriend being Catherine with a K. I'll try my best to make it clear on who's who, but for now on, unless it's explicitly clear, this will be Catherine, and Vincent's longtime girlfriend Catherine will be Kat. Just a heads up. Catherine, on screen, remember it. But Vincent has really messed up and makes an attempt to shut this issue down quick. A very poor attempt, as when Catherine climbs on top of him and says she really likes him, he folds and basically gives up on resolving this situation. She then leaves and we skip to Vincent having lunch with Orlando, another one of his close friends. They speak about the cheating situation and weigh the pros and cons, with it all coming to a halt when Vincent admits Catherine is exactly his type, ending the scene with more speak about strange deaths and nightmares. That night at the bar, Vincent and his group speak about his cheating-filled escapades when the beautiful waitress and longtime friend, Erica, shows up to tell them about the woman's wrath, something that apparently targets cheating men. They then compare Vincent to the boss and owner of the bar, an apparent ladies' man with a nice pair of sunglasses. Wonder why they would mention boss. From there, Vincent goes home, drinks himself to sleep, and re-enters the nightmare for the third time. The boss of this night is the immoral beast, a heart-like creature that is disfigured to represent Vincent's cheating, something that continues as he escapes the nightmare and wakes up. Yet again, he's next to Catherine, not helping the cheating simulator allegations. Catherine feels extremely close to Vincent and is seemingly obsessed with him, implying this will always be the case before all of a sudden getting super serious and telling him to never cheat on her. As if this day couldn't get any worse for Vincent, upon meeting with Kat, things are a bit uneasy, and when we learn the reason why, it's revealed she thinks she may be pregnant. Oh boy. Vincent is struggling to keep it together. He's sweating bullets, yet he tries to keep calm in front of Kat. Then, with perfect timing, Catherine decides to call him. Somehow, Vincent makes his way out of this one with neither Catherine's appearing to suspect anything. It's not over though, as Kat begins to drill him about responsibilities since he's gonna be a father. Keep in mind she literally said maybe. And so, Vincent finds himself at the bar talking to his friend group about a situation yet again, with this conversation eventually drifting off to the topic of sleep. There's constant mentions of that witch who seeks cheating men, as well as big talks of nightmares, something that is beginning to set off alarms. Everyone seems to be super tired from these nightmares. Nightmares that for some reason they are all getting at the same exact time. Yet nobody can remember them? But speaking of dreams, to the dream Vincent goes, with tonight's boss being a baby, illustrating how much Catherine's news really affected Vincent. Eventually though, he claims victory and wakes up. And can you guess who's there? Catherine! Here Vincent starts to notice something a bit strange about her though. Why can he never remember when he meets her or invites her over? Because apparently he does it a lot. She doesn't give him time to ponder this though, as she finds a very long hair before threatening him, saying if he was to cheat, she will kill him. Then the doorbell rings. It's Kat. And when he should be beyond done, Vincent somehow weasels himself out of this situation. He tells Catherine that it's his landlady and she's very angry about rent, before quickly stepping outside and telling Kat that it was his pushy boss that invited himself over and got very wasted. Somehow, this works, and Vincent seems to be in the clear, kinda.
See you later. Oh, and I am pregnant. I just wanted you to know.
Seriously? Was that why you really came here? I need to make up my mind quick. You don't know how that makes me feel. Seriously.
See ya.
Vincent goes to bed alone that night before waking up in the nightmare, this time running away from Kat in wedding garments, terrified of what the future of their relationship will be like. In the morning when Vincent wakes up, can you guess who's there? No one, actually. Vincent finally woke up alone, but in return he receives a phone call. The person on the other end is directly asking for him, claiming to be Catherine's boyfriend Steve before threatening him. This absolutely terrifies Vincent, leading him to promising to end things with Catherine before thinking he sees someone outside of his apartment. Later that day, he meets up with Catherine and explains everything Steve had said, but Catherine has no idea what he's talking about, leading to the thought that he might know two Catherines. Who could have thought? Vincent didn't even consider Kat, and with this revelation, he panics. He explains to Catherine that this has to be some weirdo or stalker, but she quickly shuts this down, ending this conversation with Vincent worrying Kat might be the one Steve was talking about after all. That night, Vincent faces a baby with a chainsaw, meant to represent his fear of his longtime girlfriend being with another man and the possibility that the child might not even be his. When Vincent wakes up, it's as if he didn't learn anything in the last few days, waking up with Catherine yet again. Also ants. A lot of ants. I'm surprised it took this long with that dirty ass room. When things settle down, they realize an unopened cake was the reason for the ants. And Catherine asks a great question. Where did Vincent get this unopened cake from? And somehow, yet again, luckiest man in the world, I swear, Vincent weasels his way out of this and promises to take Catherine on a date. We then fast forward to Vincent on a date with Kat, finally getting the chance to ask her about this Steve. When asked if she knows the Steve, she obviously has no idea what he's talking about, and if anything, it seems like to her, Vincent is becoming more and more odd. This really confuses him, but the worst part is he can't even ask the question properly. He doesn't even want to go near the topic of cheating with Catherine. A couple hours later, Vincent finds himself on the phone with Steve, trying to clear this whole thing up and make sense of this mess. He mentions the fact that nobody knows who he is, trying to reason the situation is just some big coincidence, and it is. a fact that becomes very clear when Vincent learns Steve's Catherine isn't white. This ends the conversation quickly, shutting it down, with Steve being worried of something coming for him. That night at the bar, Vincent speaks about this situation to the group. Obviously very shaken up over it, but more importantly, if you notice, everybody is really starting to look tired. With strange deaths, nightmares, and mentions of something hurting cheaters, it seems like it's really taking a toll on everyone. But regardless of this, Vincent finally seems to be ready to fix his problems. He's taken everything for granted, most importantly, Kat. He can't lose her now. He doesn't need to betray her anymore, and becomes set on moving forward in life with her in mind. Something he'll get started on tomorrow, I guess, as tonight he heads into the nightmare for yet another boss. Tonight's boss is himself, being an obvious representation of the shame he feels about everything, the shame he feels for cheating, the shame he feels for messing with everybody's feelings. And while normally Vincent would just wake up, something happens at the end of this boss. He finds Steve, the one from the phone calls. This leads to the huge realization that all of these sheep appearing in the nightmares are also real people. As the ground rumbles, Steve cries out asking Vincent for help, but shocked by this huge revelation, he stands frozen, leaving Steve to fall to his demise. When Vincent wakes up the next morning, the day appears to be normal until at lunch with Orlando as they find themselves on the topic of the nightmares yet again. This is when the TV news announces Steve's death, causing Vincent to finally remember the nightmare and put it all together. The curse, the nightmares, the strange deaths, and most of all, the betrayal, the cheating, it's all linked. To Orlando, this is just wrong. After all, in his words, he was the one who got betrayed, and so they kinda laugh it off, thinking that the strange rumors are getting into everybody's heads and causing some weird panic. From there, the conversation ends on a hopeful note, with Vincent leaving to end things with Catherine so he can propose to his original girlfriend, the one who has been there with him through everything. Later in the night, it's finally time. Vincent ends things with Catherine by telling her about the other cat and how he's decided he is going to marry her. In a strange turn of events, Catherine is actually fine with this, saying it's all okay as long as she's his number one, seeing at least being with Vincent better than not. Even when told that the other Catherine is carrying his child, she doesn't mind. She still wants to be with him. This changes though when Vincent refers to their week-long relationship as a mistake, causing her to cry, saying she just wants to die. Vincent apologizes, saying he'll do anything but see her anymore, so she proceeds to beat the shit out of him.
Are you really pissing me off?
Vincent, now in tons of pain, is comforted by his friends, with them all telling him that he's resolved the issue and that right now he just needs to rest. And so he soon makes his way home, into bed, goes to sleep, and no nightmare. What? Okay. Upon waking up, it seems like it'll finally be the start of fixing things and it's back to normal. He didn't have a nightmare, there's no strange people at the door, just a normal salesman, and no Catherine. Until the doorbell rings. It's Catherine. Well, the right Catherine. The one he wants to make up with. Upon opening the door and letting his girlfriend in, Catherine appears, and Vincent's world comes crashing down as Kat instantly realizes what has been going on. Obviously, she's pissed. They've been together for years, discussed marriage, and most of all, she's pregnant. And Vincent being Vincent, his first reaction is to try and weasel his way out of this, but not this time. Kat won't have none of that. The situation is made worse when Catherine continuously tries to piss Kat off, insulting her, taunting her, and getting closer and closer to Vincent, eventually causing her to break out in anger, saying she'll never forgive Vincent. This fight, the insults, Vincent's silence, continues until Kat gets up and goes to the sink, planning to do the unthinkable.
What's the matter? Looking for this?
I've already called it off with her. She just snuck in here, okay? Me.
It's because of you that Vincent's so confused right now! If you just go away, he could finally be free!
Are you crazy?
Don't you run away from me!
Vincent then all of a sudden mans up and takes control of the situation, helping Catherine gain composure and telling her that he'll take care of everything and that she just needs to go home. And so, when they step outside, they're in the puzzle world, launching you into a level where you have to climb with Kat and escape from the level's boss, Catherine. Upon reaching the top, Kat struggles, unable to think of a future that involves both her and Vincent, and so she falls, unable to get back up, leaving Vincent to save her and escape with her. Vincent then wakes up out of breath with Kat in his room, leading to him over-explaining everything that just happened. Issue is, to Kat this is an incriminating spew of just nonsense, her realizing he's been cheating and Vincent realizing she doesn't remember anything that just happened. She came over to check on him but now knows this truth. Regardless, Vincent goes on and on explaining that he's fully dedicated to her and has realized all of his issues and promises to treat her and the baby right. Catherine then responds and drops a bombshell. She's not actually pregnant. It was all just a big mistake. Then breaks up with Vincent, saying she's had a feeling something big like this has been going on for a while now. Vincent has been acting strange and super out of it, something she's noted and something that's made her feel terrible as she goes through her own tough time. She leaves and doesn't look back. Vincent realizing this means she's serious, very serious. He's known her for too long to not know when her mind isn't set. Later in the day, a depressed Vincent is speaking to his friends, reiterating everything we've spoke about. But that's when Vincent realizes something frightening. He realizes all record of Catherine's existence is gone. Nobody has even ever seen her. Even the other night in the bar where they broke up, him getting beat up by her, yelled at by her, they didn't hear nothing, didn't see nothing. They just thought Vincent was acting strange. Even Erica, someone who never leaves the bar, has never seen her. But wait, there is one person who actually spoke to Catherine the night Vincent met her. Boss, the strange guy with the sunglasses. Vincent then confronts him and squeezes the truth out of him pretty quick. And it's strange. Boss reveals himself to be Thomas Mutton, the dictator of the nightmares as well as the one who sent Catherine after Vincent. Catherine being a succubus from another world that's unseeable by other people. She was meant to be Vincent's ideal woman, allowing her to seduce him and throw him into the nightmare. The nightmare itself being a device to rid cheating men from the world to stabilize the population of healthy couples. A pretty big revelation told by a guy we've seen every day in game, just chilling there. To Vincent though, this doesn't matter. After all, it means he kinda technically didn't cheat. Can't cheat if she never really existed, right? And so Vincent challenges Mutton to the nightmare one more time, saying if he wins, it'll be the last nightmare for everyone, and he'll bring Kat here so he can fix everything. This leaves Vincent to go to bed and face the nightmare for the final time, with his opponent this time being Mr. Mutton and his ascended form, Drumzuid. Once Vincent climbs to the top of the tower and claims victory, this is where that karma meter from the beginning finally comes back, as this is the main factor in deciding which ending Vincent gets here. These endings are split into 3 categories: the cheater endings, freedom endings, and the lover endings, with each ending expanding a huge aspect of Vincent's dilemma. Each ending has a true form, normal form, and a bad form. But I'll only be talking about the true versions as they're labeled true for a reason. They have the most content and they're the definitive real ending of that route. And for time's sake, as if I talk about every difference in every ending, we'll probably be here for an hour and a half. First up, the cheater ending, where as you can assume, it's an easy assumption, Vincent ends up with Catherine. After his victory over the nightmare, Vincent wakes up excited, before heading to the bar and asking Mr. Mutton to see Catherine. He reluctantly accepts Vincent's request, and the two of them get to see each other once more, with Vincent explaining that he finally feels free due to what she put him through. He ends up asking to marry her, and as he waits for his answer, her dad shows up. This turns into a silly scene that really hammers in the idea that she really isn't human after all. But in the end, she does reciprocate Vincent's feelings, with her father awkwardly watching them. We then cut to a few days later to Vincent waking up after getting freaky with Catherine, before him getting startled by Mutton being in their bed. This whole scene is silly, but showcases they are actually together and in the underworld making it work. Yet again, we then cut away to the final scene, an even sillier scene showcasing Vincent has somehow become king of the underworld and has acquired himself a demon harem.
I can't believe a human man can be this incredible. It's so surprising, don't you think? Although, he's definitely not human anymore.
The next ending is the freedom ending, and it's the shortest of the bunch. It also begins the same way as all of these other endings, with Vincent waking up and heading to the bar. Once at the bar, Vincent sits down at the counter and speaks to Mr. Mutton, explaining that he's had an epiphany. Maybe he's just not ready to settle down with anyone, and maybe he just needs to stop being so scared of simple decisions. The conversation ends with Vincent asking for a loan so he can buy himself a ticket to space. But Mutton says he's asking for too much before giving him just enough to bet on a wrestling match. After that match, we see through images that Vincent's bet paid off and he can finally move out to fulfill his dream, going to space, and gives us a quote that explains this ending perfectly.
Why live a life without doing what you want? That's just a recipe for a life of misery.
The lover ending is the one people would probably say is the most realistic and also the best. Considering it's Kat's ending and Vincent does spend the whole game chasing her, it just makes sense why people would hold this one in the highest regard. This ending begins yet again in the same way. Vincent wakes up, goes to the bar, and is able to see Catherine after their breakup. He explains the whole situation top to bottom, but even then, Catherine is still unsure. He sounds crazy, at least until the rest of the group show up and vouch for Vincent, with even Mr. Mutton chiming in as proof. They end up leaving the two of them alone, with Vincent explaining everything yet again and asking one final time for her to marry him, with her responding saying she'll think about it. We then cut into the far future to the two of them getting married in a beautiful scene that showcases everyone's happiness. As not only has Vincent fixed his situation, it seems all of his friends have figured it out too. This ending concludes with a toast before Vincent and Catherine kiss and exchange I love yous.
I love you so much, Vincent.
Going for a very specific ending can be really hard in Catherine. You have to be at a near perfect spot on that meter to get the one you want. And in a way, this definitely represents Vincent's struggle. This whole game is based around this relationship crisis Vincent has found himself in. One that boils down to the issue he can't decide which direction he wants his life to go in. Each of these endings feel natural for Vincent. All of them feel realistic and correct for the character we've been with through the whole game, with the biggest idea in each of these endings being want. Who does Vincent want? More importantly, what does Vincent want? Whether it's which Catherine he wants, whether it's the lifestyle that Catherine brings, whether it's something in that ending that Vincent wants, it's all about want. The cheater ending, Catherine's ending, showcases Vincent chasing the person who gave him the idea of want in the first place, something perfectly showcased in her character. She's literally a succubus, a creature meant to take advantage of wants. The perfect character to introduce this idea of wanting something to Vincent. In an early interaction with her, Vincent says one of his favorite things about her is that she lives however she wants to, with her responding that he could do the same whenever he wants. Putting this idea into his head leads him to the realization he doesn't want things chosen for him. He wants to choose his own direction in his life. In her ending, Vincent explains his main dilemma. He's worried about the direction his life's going in, feeling as if it's just predetermined by everything around him. Yet meeting her gave him the idea that this could change. In his own words, he doesn't need to follow the herd. He's allowed to want something else. He doesn't need to be like everybody else because it's the normal thing to do. An idea that Catherine showed him, leading to this ending where he chooses he wants Catherine. As for the freedom ending, it's pretty self-explanatory. Vincent wants freedom, an idea perfectly expressed in him choosing to follow his dream of going to space. It's a subtle detail I wouldn't blame you if you missed, but it's important enough to get zoomed into in the intro of the game. Vincent has a large amount of space travel memorabilia, space travel obviously being a big dream of his. In this ending, Vincent explains that he's had an epiphany related to his dilemma. Everyone expects you to follow this laid out route with the first major step being marriage. Yet Vincent has realized that's not what he really wants. Vincent wants to follow things in his way, not by being scared of life, but by following the path in the direction he believes in. This is showcased through that simple wrestling bet. It's a small unexpected win in the moment, it doesn't net him anything grand, but by choosing this new path, one where he bets on the things he believes in, he achieves the dream he's always wanted, going to space. Catherine, her ending is the opposite of the last two, with Vincent realizing what he's wanted the whole time is that traditional life. Vincent from the very beginning has the idea that life goes a bit like this. You grow up, find a job, get married, have a kid, and grow old. It's simple and an idea we can label as traditional. Yet Vincent wasn't sure this is what he really wanted. When Catherine brings up marriage the first time, he's just not sure it's the right idea, leading to a crisis where he's not sure what direction his life should go in. Throughout the game, Vincent battles this issue, and after he goes through everything and loses Catherine, he realizes he needs her. What he really wants is to live that traditional life, and he feels like he can't do that without her. The important distinction though is that in the beginning of the game, Vincent felt like this was the path chosen for him, like he had no choice but to go down this route. But here, at the end of the game, in this ending, he realizes this is what he wants. It's not forced, it's something he's truly excited for, leading to the two of them getting married and living that traditional life.
I was worried about how my life was going. I thought everything was being decided for me. I was being tossed about by the world. It's so much stress. But after you dumped me, I figured it out. My life has no meaning without you.
Why are you telling me this now?
So I'll never regret not telling you. I will hold you dear for the rest of our lives. Will you marry me? Catherine, I love you.
Catherine is built in a way for you to be drawn to Catherine's side. She cares for Vincent from the very beginning, yet she's the one being cheated on, she's the one who is wronged and ignored. Even upon making it very obvious she wants to get married to him and she's potentially pregnant with this child, she's just treated terribly. It makes you want to feel for her, it makes you want to side with her. Hence why her ending is probably the most serious of the bunch, but when it's resolved, it ends up being the happiest. You know, you went on like the hardest journey, so you get the happiest ending. It's what Catherine deserves. So we're all good, right? Well, no. You don't play as Catherine. You play as Vincent. And when you take a look at things like this through his eyes, You realize neither Catherines are really the best option for a character like Vincent. Relationships aren't really the journey that's being told here. They're very prevalent and they're a big part of Vincent's journey, but Vincent's journey isn't who he picks. His journey is rather him wandering through one of life's biggest dilemmas: direction. When we first meet Vincent, the biggest thing to note is that he's absolutely afraid of change. He loves the easy life he has, a life that's basically been the same since school. Now 32 though, all of a sudden things change. Catherine is interested in marriage, she's potentially pregnant, and new opportunities like the younger Catherine become present out of nowhere. All of these huge changes attack Vincent at once and cause him to spiral, falling into a midlife crisis where he realizes he has no real direction in life. Throughout the game, it becomes very obvious there's no perfect option for Vincent. And if there was, it would be whatever he wants, what direction he feels is right for his life. Yet he doesn't know. Vincent has no idea what he wants and puts the controller in your hands. It's left to you, the player, to go guide Vincent on his journey to find direction in life. This is the way Catherine explores adulthood. Vincent is a lot like most people, or at least is in a situation people can relate to at one point in time, where you have no idea what direction to go in next, spending your days in a simple cycle of meaningless tasks until you find your thing. I don't want to be that guy, but literally playing Catherine is an example of this. You could always be doing something better, just like how Vincent himself could be doing way better. Instead of spending his 30s drinking every night to sleep, he could be working more, saving money, and starting a family. Something Catherine pushes for, that traditional route just being one of many paths in life. It's almost like you spend your days asleep, living your life easy, but just overall unaware to what direction you're really meant to go in. Catherine seems to love this idea and thrusts Vincent straight into it. There's constant mentions of sleep, sheep, all around tiredness. The bar is literally called the stray sheep. The big, obvious, overarching idea that bad things happen when you're asleep. And not to mention, Vincent's midlife crisis is literally running alongside a nightmare. And don't even get me started on all the sheep, the sleep, and all the stuff there. I could literally make an hour-long video on how Catherine uses sleep sheep things. You get it. Point is, Vincent, like most people, is stuck in a puzzle of life and asleep to what his direction really is. And even though he can be a very sour reminder of that, something a lot of people struggle with, it's still our responsibility to guide him to his ending. In these endings, we see what happens when Vincent finally overcomes his issues and finds his direction, with each ending showcasing him happy and content in some way or another. Catherine is a perfect example of what it's like feeling directionless, how finding that one thing can feel like you're solving this grand, impossible puzzle. One that maybe you'll never find the answer to. Yet, Catherine also showcases the positive idea that this can change. Everything can change in a week as it did for Vincent. But it's just a matter of you, not others. Someone won't make your choices for you like you do Vincent. Yeah, it's more than possible without someone doing it for you. Just remember to not do it in a shitty, cheating-filled way like Vincent. I like to think of Catherine's message as a wake-up call. A real uncomfortable one if it hits you at the right time. While having multiple messages, like the idea of dealing with the consequences of your actions, the one that spoke to me the most was Vincent's internal struggle with meaning throughout the whole entire game. Being a young adult, things change really fast, and all of a sudden you're told things you need to do. This can honestly be tough, especially when you just don't know if those things are even what you want to do, and the idea of having to do those things for the rest of your life is scary. And that aspect of this game really got me. To be honest, I played Catherine years ago, but it didn't really hit. It wasn't until I grew up a little bit and revisited this game that I noticed all of the details and things it was just trying to tell me. And since then, with every replay, which honestly might be a yearly occurrence at this point, I've gained more and more love for this silly little title. I doubt any other Atlus title could possibly dethrone this as my favorite. I'm hoping for Metaphor, after all it's by the same team, but I can't imagine it impacting me the same way this game did when I got it. Hell, it still impacts me. Catherine's just never gonna leave me. Even then, I think it's also fair to say there's so many great Atlus games out there that I know I haven't played. After all, they have like over 100 games, and I bet I'm really missing out, so please let me know. I'm very open to playing more games by them. But yeah, that's it. I really hope this video inspired you to take a spin at this game if you've just never played it. There's Full Body, there's the version on Steam, you can get it on the old PS3, old Xbox 360, pretty much wherever you want to play this game. But, this isn't me saying the game needs a sequel, by the way. I think that would do more harm than good, and I think if they really want to expand this verse in some way, take the Golden Playhouse format, and just teach something else in the same way Catherine does. Let me know what you think about the video. I love reading comments, I love responding to people. Thank you for watching. All my links are in the description if you're interested, and until next time I guess. I hope you enjoyed my video about Catherine.
Yo. Hey, been at this shit for a minute. I've been running with the same dude since the beginning. Homie, I need to listen. Your favorite rappers is mad soft. Twist another spliff, I hit that shit and I blast off, yeah. Oh, if I was you, I'd be jealous. Got that pretty boy swagger, I feel like Soulja Boy, tell him. Now there ain't shit you could tell us. We sipping drinks with umbrellas. I had enough of y'all admissions. I pull up in the Tesla, hey.